I'm Evelyn, 32, a dedicated elementary school teacher living in Portland. I'd been looking forward to my birthday for weeks, planning a small family gathering at my apartment. As I sat alone, surrounded by decorations and untouched food, confusion turned to disbelief as hours passed with no guests or calls. When I finally texted my mom asking where everyone was, her reply shattered me. "Sorry, honey, Catherine got a promotion. We're celebrating at Giovanni's. We'll bring you leftovers tomorrow." It was the final example of a family pattern I had tried to ignore for years. Before I share what happened next, let me know where you're watching from, and hit subscribe to join me on this journey of self-discovery. Growing up as the middle child in the Anderson family wasn't easy. With my older sister Catherine being 3 years my senior, and my younger brother Dominic only 2 years behind me, I often found myself caught in the middle, both literally and figuratively. My parents, Margaret and Thomas Anderson, were successful professionals with high expectations. My mother was a respected corporate attorney while my father ran his own accounting firm. They valued achievement and success above all else, creating an environment where we constantly competed for their attention and approval. From my earliest memories, there was a clear pattern of favoritism in our household. Catherine, with her natural academic brilliance and ambitious personality, quickly became the golden child. She brought home perfect report cards, won science competitions, and eventually attended an Ivy League university on scholarship. My parents never missed an opportunity to broadcast her accomplishments to friends, family, and anyone who would listen. Then there was Dominic, the baby of the family and only son. His charm and athletic abilities made him the family darling. My father, who had played college basketball, lived vicariously through Dominic's sporting achievements. No matter how far away his games were, my parents would drive for hours to watch him play, cheering from the sidelines like his personal cheerleading squad. And then there was me, not quite as academically gifted as Catherine, not as naturally athletic as Dominic. I was creative, empathetic, and loved working with children. I found my calling in teaching something my parents viewed as a safe career, rather than an impressive achievement. "Teachers are important, of course," my mother would say with that tight smile, "but with your potential, you could have aimed higher." Birthdays in our household were clear indicators of the family hierarchy. Catherine's birthdays were elaborate affairs with my parents renting venues and inviting dozens of guests. Dominic's birthdays often featured expensive gifts and special trips. My birthdays, however, were usually afterthoughts, frequently overshadowed by someone else's accomplishment. When I turned 16, my celebration was postponed because Catherine had a debate tournament the same weekend. My 18th birthday dinner was cut short because Dominic had a basketball game that evening. For my 21st, my parents forgot entirely until I called them the next day, only to hear my mother say, "Oh dear, with Catherine's law school acceptance and everything, it completely slipped my mind." Despite these disappointments, I developed a role within the family as the mediator and peacekeeper. When Catherine and Dominic fought, I was the one who calmed them down. When my parents were stressed about work, I was the one who listened and offered support. I became the emotional caretaker of our family, always putting others' needs before my own. When I graduated college with my teaching degree, I made the decision to move to Portland for my dream job teaching fourth grade at a progressive elementary school. It was the first time I had put my own desires first. And while my family was supportive in theory, I could tell they didn't understand why I needed to move so far away. "Couldn't you find a teaching job closer to home?" my mother asked repeatedly. "There are plenty of schools in Connecticut." But I needed the distance. Portland offered me not just a job, but a fresh start, a chance to define myself outside of my family's shadow. The 3-hour flight between us gave me the breathing room to grow into myself, to discover who Evelyn Anderson was, when not constrained by family dynamics and expectations. Even with the distance, I remained the dutiful daughter and sister. I flew home for every major holiday. I never missed Catherine's law firm promotions or Dominic's championship games. I sent thoughtful gifts for birthdays and anniversaries. I called my parents at least once a week to check in. I remained the family connector even as I struggled to establish boundaries and build my own life. That's why, as my 32nd birthday approached, I decided to try something different. Instead of flying home or celebrating alone, I invited my family to visit me in Portland. It would be the first time they had all come to see my life here to step into my world, instead of me always returning to theirs. I wanted them to see my classroom, meet my colleagues, experience the city I had grown to love. Most of all, I wanted them to see me thriving in the life I had built for myself. The planning began a month in advance. I secured a Friday off work so we could have a long weekend together. I researched the best restaurants, museums, and sites to show them. I deep cleaned my two-bedroom apartment, even repainting the guest room where my parents would stay. Catherine would take the sofa bed, and Dominic would bring his air mattress for the living room floor. It would be cozy, but I was excited about hosting them all under my roof. My birthday fell on a Friday, so the plan was for everyone to arrive by late afternoon. We'd have my birthday dinner at my apartment that evening, then spend Saturday and Sunday exploring Portland before they flew home on Monday morning. It wasn't elaborate by my family's standards, but it felt special to me, a chance to finally be at the center of a family gathering. In the weeks leading up to the visit, I received encouraging responses. "Looking forward to seeing your place," my father texted. "Can't wait to meet your Portland friends," my mother wrote. Catherine mentioned being excited about visiting some local breweries, and Dominic asked about hiking opportunities. For once, everything seemed to be falling into place. My family was coming to celebrate me, and I couldn't wait. The week of my birthday, I threw myself into preparations with an enthusiasm that surprised even me. My apartment, while always neat, received a thorough top-to-bottom cleaning that left it sparkling. I washed the windows until they gleamed, polished every surface, and even cleaned behind the refrigerator, a task I'd been postponing for months. Fresh flowers brightened every room, their sweet scent welcoming and festive. I knew my mother had particular tastes, so I made up the guest bedroom with the nicest linens I owned, placing extra pillows and blankets in the closet, along with a basket of toiletries she might need. For Catherine, I made sure the sofa bed had been tested for comfort and added a memory foam topper to make it more luxurious. For Dominic, I cleared floor space and purchased a new, higher quality air mattress than the one he planned to bring. The menu planning took serious consideration. My mother had always been critical of my cooking, comparing it unfavorably to her own gourmet skills, so I decided to prepare her favorite dishes to please her. I spent hours researching recipes for her beloved beef bourguignon, practicing the technique twice before the actual day. I learned to make her favorite chocolate souffle from scratch, timing the delicate dessert perfectly so it wouldn't collapse before serving. The shopping took 3 separate trips. First for cleaning supplies and household items, then for ingredients, and finally for the perfect wines to complement each course. Despite being on a teacher's salary, I splurged on high-quality ingredients, wanting everything to be perfect. I even tracked down my mother's preferred brand of sparkling water and my father's favorite scotch. For decorations, I kept things elegant and understated, knowing my mother's distaste for anything she deemed tacky. Simple white candles and silver holders, a tasteful happy birthday banner in silver and blue, my favorite colors, and fresh eucalyptus garlands woven with tiny white lights created a sophisticated atmosphere. I arranged framed family photos throughout the apartment, hoping they would notice this thoughtful touch. The day before my birthday, I took extra care with my appearance, scheduling a blowout at a salon for my dark blonde hair and splurging on a manicure. I selected a new navy blue wrap dress for the occasion, elegant but not too formal, paired with the pearl earrings my grandmother had given me before she passed. As a finishing touch, I purchased small gifts for each family member, though it was my birthday. For my mother, a handcrafted ceramic vase from a local artist. For my father, a rare book on jazz history he'd mentioned wanting. For Catherine, artisanal chocolates from Portland's famous chocolate maker. And for Dominic, a limited edition sports jersey from his favorite team. Each gift was thoughtfully wrapped and placed on their respective beds as welcome presents. On the morning of my birthday, I woke early with a sense of anticipation. My family's flight would arrive at 2 in the afternoon, giving me plenty of time for final preparations. I started the beef bourguignon, knowing it needed hours to develop its rich flavors. I prepped the vegetables for side dishes, measured ingredients for the soufflé, and arranged a cheese board with local Oregon cheeses for appetizers. By noon, the apartment was filled with delicious aromas. I set the dining table with my best dishes, cloth napkins, and the crystal wine glasses I had inherited from my grandmother. I arranged the seating strategically, placing my mother where she could see the view of the city lights, knowing she would appreciate that detail. I took a moment to admire my handiwork, snapping photos to commemorate the occasion. The table looked beautiful, the food was coming together perfectly, and soon my family would arrive to celebrate with me. After years of my birthday being an afterthought, this year would be different. This year, I would finally have the birthday celebration I had always longed for, surrounded by the people I loved most in the world. As the clock struck 1, I changed into my new dress, applied my makeup, and added the final touches to my appearance. I practiced my welcome speech in the mirror, imagining the warm embraces and birthday wishes I would receive. With everything ready, I sat down in my living room to wait for the text, telling me their Uber was on the way from the airport. My heart was full of hope and expectation, unaware of the disappointment that awaited me. The first hour of waiting wasn't concerning. Flights get delayed, baggage claim takes time. Traffic in Portland can be unpredictable. I kept my phone close, expecting a text or call any minute explaining the delay. The candles remained unlit, waiting for their arrival to create the perfect ambiance. The food stayed warming in the oven, ready to be served at a moment's notice. By 4 o'clock, a small knot of anxiety began to form in my stomach. I checked my phone's battery and signal, making sure I hadn't somehow missed their messages. I scrolled through our previous text conversations, confirming that yes, they all knew to arrive today. And yes, the flight information they had sent me showed an arrival time of 2 p.m. They're just running late, I reassured myself, turning on the television for distraction but unable to focus on the program. I checked the airline's website, which showed their flight had arrived on time at 2:15. That meant they should have been at my apartment by 3:30 at the latest. 4:30 came and went. I called my mother's cell phone, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried my father next, then Catherine, then Dominic. No answers. With each unanswered call, the knot in my stomach tightened. I sent a group text. Hey, everyone just checking in. Everything okay? Let me know your ETA when you can. By 5 o'clock, I began making excuses for them. Maybe they had decided to stop somewhere on the way from the airport. Maybe they were planning a surprise and would walk in any minute with a cake and gifts. Maybe there was some kind of emergency, though surely they would have contacted me if that were the case. I paced the apartment periodically, checking out the window for any sign of an approaching car. The carefully prepared beef bourguignon had been in the warming oven too long, now beginning to dry out. The cheese board sat untouched. The carefully selected wines remained uncorked. I kept checking my phone, the screen frustratingly blank of notifications. 6 o'clock arrived, and with it a creeping sense of embarrassment mixed with concern. 4 hours after their scheduled arrival, I began to wonder if I had somehow mixed up the dates. I checked my calendar, my email confirmations, and our text exchanges again. No, today was definitely the day they were supposed to arrive. Today was my birthday, and they had all confirmed multiple times. As 7 o'clock approached, I turned to social media, thinking perhaps there would be some clue there. Had anyone posted about travel delays or problems? I opened Instagram and immediately saw that my brother Dominic had posted a story just 30 minutes ago. My heart jumped with relief until I actually viewed it. It wasn't a post about travel delays or airport issues. It was a video of him clinking glasses with someone across a restaurant table. The location tag read, Giovanni's Italian Bistro, our family's favorite restaurant back home in Connecticut. Confusion swirled through me. Had they canceled the trip without telling me? I quickly checked my sister Catherine's profile and felt my heart sink further. She had posted a photo just 15 minutes ago of our entire family gathered around a restaurant table, champagne glasses raised in a toast. The caption read, Celebrating big news. So proud of my accomplishments and grateful for a family who always shows up. The room seemed to spin around me. They weren't coming. They were never coming. They were all together at Giovanni's celebrating something for Catherine on my birthday. The birthday they had promised to spend with me. The birthday I had spent weeks preparing for. With shaking hands, I sat down on my sofa, still trying to make sense of what was happening. Had there been a miscommunication? Had they forgotten it was my birthday? Had they forgotten they were supposed to fly to Portland today? None of those explanations made sense, as we had confirmed the plans multiple times over the past weeks. The internal conflict was overwhelming. Part of me wanted to be understanding to give them the benefit of the doubt. Perhaps there was some explanation I wasn't aware of. But another part of me, the part that had spent years making excuses for their behavior, knew exactly what had happened. Once again, I had been overlooked in favor of something deemed more important. After hours of waiting and wondering, I finally decided to text my mother directly. I typed and deleted several angry drafts before settling on a simple question. "Hi, Mom. Just wondering where everyone is. I've been waiting for hours and can't reach anyone. Is everything okay?" The three dots appeared immediately, showing she was typing a response. My heart pounded as I waited, hoping for an explanation that would somehow make this all okay. When her reply came through, I stared at it in disbelief. "Sorry, honey. Catherine got a promotion. We're celebrating at Giovanni's. We'll bring you leftovers tomorrow." The words on my screen blurred as tears filled my eyes. I read and reread the message, hoping I had somehow misunderstood, but the meaning was unmistakable in its casual cruelty. Not only had my family forgotten my birthday, but they hadn't even forgotten their trip to Portland. They had actively chosen to celebrate Catherine's promotion instead, without even bothering to tell me they weren't coming. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold my phone. A wave of nausea swept over me as the full impact of their dismissal hit home. This wasn't a miscommunication or an emergency. This was a deliberate choice that communicated exactly how little I mattered in the family hierarchy. Leftovers, I whispered to myself, the word taking on a painful symbolism. That's what I had always been to them. Leftovers, an afterthought. The one who got whatever attention remained after Catherine and Dominic had taken their shares. In a daze, I scrolled through my social media feeds again, this time, seeing details I had missed in my initial shock. My extended family was there too. My grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins all gathered around the table at Giovanni's. Everyone was dressed formally, raising glasses to Catherine. In one photo, I spotted a large cake with "Congratulations, Catherine" written in elegant script. They had organized a full family celebration for her promotion. On my birthday. The birthday they had promised to spend with me. As the reality of the situation sank in, physical symptoms of shock took over. My chest tightened, making it difficult to breathe. My hands felt cold and numb. I found myself gasping for air between sobs that seemed to come from some deep wounded place I hadn't known existed within me. I scrolled through the comments under Catherine's post, each congratulatory message driving the knife deeper. "So proud of you. You deserve this. What a wonderful celebration." No one, not a single family member, had mentioned that today was my birthday, or that they had been supposed to be in Portland with me. In desperation, I called my best friend Amanda, needing someone, anyone, to witness my pain. When her voicemail answered, I remembered she was at a conference in Seattle this weekend. I left a rambling, tearful message, my words barely coherent through the sobs. Alone in my perfectly prepared apartment, surrounded by cooling food and unlit candles, I was forced to confront feelings I had suppressed for years. The sense of worthlessness that had always lingered at the edges of my consciousness now crashed over me in waves. If my own family could so easily discard me, what did that say about my value as a person? What's wrong with me? I asked the empty room. Why am I never enough? Questions with no answers swirled through my mind as I curled into a ball on my sofa. Why had they even agreed to come if they were going to cancel? Why couldn't they have at least called to tell me they weren't coming? Why did Catherine's promotion automatically trump my birthday? Why was I always the one left behind? As the night wore on, emotional exhaustion gradually replaced the acute pain. I moved through my apartment like a ghost, blowing out candles, putting away food, removing the carefully arranged decorations. Each action felt like dismantling not just a party that never happened, but the illusion that I held any important place in my family's lives. When I finally crawled into bed, still in my unworn birthday dress, sleep came as a mercy, providing temporary escape from a reality too painful to process. My last thought before unconsciousness claimed me was a question I had never allowed myself to ask before. What if I stopped trying so hard to be part of a family that never tried to include me? The insistent ringing of my doorbell pulled me from a heavy, dreamless sleep. For a moment, disorientation clouded my mind before the events of the previous day came rushing back. My birthday, the no-show family, Catherine's promotion celebration, the text about leftovers. I glanced at my phone. It was just after 11 in the morning, and I had 3 missed calls from my mother. The doorbell rang again, more insistently this time. With a sense of dread, I pulled myself out of bed, still wearing my crumpled dress from yesterday. I caught sight of my reflection in the hall mirror, swollen eyes, smeared makeup, tangled hair, and didn't bother to fix it as I made my way to the door. When I opened it, my parents stood there, looking fresh and well-rested. My mother held a large paper bag emblazoned with Giovanni's logo, while my father checked something on his phone, barely glancing up at me. "Good morning, sweetheart." My mother breezed past me into the apartment, seemingly oblivious to my appearance, or the tension radiating from me. "We brought the leftovers as promised. The veal parmesan was exceptional, you simply must try it." My father finally looked up from his phone, giving me a distracted pat on the shoulder as he followed my mother inside. "Your place looks nice, Evelyn." Smaller than I expected, but nice. I stood frozen by the open door, unable to process their casual entrance after what had happened. They moved around my living room, examining my possessions with mild interest, showing no signs of remorse or even awareness that they had done anything wrong. "Did you get our text about the change of plans?" my mother asked, placing the bag of leftovers on my kitchen counter. "Catherine got the junior partner position, 2 years ahead of schedule. The firm called her yesterday morning with the news, and we simply had to celebrate immediately." My father nodded, picking up one of my framed photographs and studying it briefly before setting it down in a different spot than where it had been. "Biggest promotion of her career so far. The senior partners were all there. Couldn't miss that kind of opportunity for networking." "I thought we were celebrating my birthday," I finally managed to say, my voice sounding strange and distant to my own ears. "We had plans. You were all supposed to be here." My mother waved her hand dismissively. "It's just a birthday, Evelyn. You have one every year. Catherine's achievement is a once-in-a-lifetime event." "But you promised," I said, hating how childish the words sounded but unable to stop myself. "We confirmed the plans multiple times. I took time off work. I prepared everything." My father sighed, checking his watch. "Now don't be dramatic. It's not like we forgot your birthday entirely. We're here now, aren't we? We brought food." "Leftovers." I corrected him, the word bitter on my tongue. "You brought me leftovers from Catherine's celebration, on the day after my birthday." My mother began unpacking the containers of food, seemingly determined to ignore the tension in the room. "The food is still excellent, even reheated. And we brought a slice of cake, too. See, we were thinking of you." I looked at the cake slice with congratu. Visible on the frosting, a piece cut from a cake that clearly said, "Congratulations, Catherine." And something inside me finally broke. "I spent weeks preparing for your visit," I said, my voice shaking. "I cleaned for days. I cooked all day yesterday dishes that went uneaten. I bought gifts for all of you. I rearranged my schedule, and none of you even had the decency to call and tell me you weren't coming." My mother's expression hardened. "We did tell you. I texted you. After I reached out to you. After I spent hours wondering if you'd been in an accident." The volume of my voice increased despite my efforts to stay calm. My father stepped between us, his expression stern. "Lower your voice, Evelyn. There's no need for this kind of overreaction. We're sorry if there was a miscommunication, but Catherine's promotion was important to the whole family." "And I'm not—" The question escaped before I could stop it. Am I not important to this family at all? The uncomfortable silence that followed was answer enough. My mother busied herself with arranging the leftovers in my refrigerator. My father checked his email again. Just then my phone rang. Catherine's face flashed on the screen. I answered on speaker beyond caring about privacy. "Evie? Did Mom and Dad make it with the food? Giovanni's was amazing last night. You should have seen the spread they put out for me." I stared at the phone, incredulous. "Catherine, you do realize you were all supposed to be here yesterday for my birthday?" A pause. Oh, right. Happy belated. Sorry about that. But you understand how huge this promotion is, right? Junior partner at 35, the youngest in firm history. I understand that our entire family, including extended family, I rarely get to see gathered to celebrate you on my birthday when all of you had promised to be here with me. Catherine's tone turned defensive. Don't be selfish, Evelyn. This is my career we're talking about. You can have a birthday party anytime. I'm being selfish. The irony was so thick I could barely breathe through it. I have spent my entire life showing up for this family. I have never missed a single important event for any of you. I fly home for every holiday. I call every week. I send thoughtful gifts. And the one time I asked you all to show up for me, you couldn't be bothered to even call and cancel. My father grabbed the phone. Catherine will call you back. Your sister is having a moment. He hung up and turned to me with a stern expression. That's enough, Evelyn. You're embarrassing yourself and upsetting your sister. I'm upsetting her. I laughed, a broken sound with no humor in it. What about me? Who's concerned about upsetting me? My mother stepped forward, her expression a mixture of frustration and condescension. You've always been so sensitive, Evelyn, always taking everything so personally. You should be happy for your sister instead of making her success about you. I would have been happy for her any other day of the year, I replied, finding a strange calm in the center of my pain. But you chose my birthday. You chose to cancel plans with me without even telling me. You chose to prioritize her as you always have. Now you're just being childish, my father said. This isn't about favorites. This is about recognizing truly significant achievements. The implication was clear. My life, my accomplishments, my very existence wasn't significant enough to celebrate. Something shifted in me, then a fundamental realignment of how I saw my place in this family dynamic. For years, I had made excuses for their behavior, had blamed myself for not being accomplished enough, interesting enough, important enough to hold their attention. But in this moment, I finally saw the truth. No achievement of mine would ever be enough, because they had decided long ago that I was the expendable child. I think you should leave, I said quietly, moving to open the front door. My mother's eyes widened in surprise. Evelyn, we flew all this way to bring you food, and this is how you behave. You flew here because you felt obligated after realizing how badly you'd treated me, I corrected her. Not because you wanted to be here, and certainly not because you care about my feelings. My father's face reddened with anger. This is ridiculous. We are your parents. You don't speak to us this way. And you don't treat your daughter like she doesn't matter, I countered, holding the door wider. Please leave. I need some time to think. Their expressions as they gathered their things and left ranged from indignation to confusion. They couldn't understand why I was so upset, which only confirmed how little they had ever seen me, the real me, with feelings and needs, and a life of my own. As the door closed behind them, I leaned against it and let out a long breath. Despite the tears tracking down my face and the ache in my chest, I felt something unexpected relief. For the first time, I had stood up for myself instead of smoothing things over. And though it hurt terribly, there was liberation in finally acknowledging the truth. After my parents left, I sat motionless on my sofa for a long time, my mind replaying the confrontation and everything that had led to it. I was still sitting there when my phone rang an hour later. It was Amanda returning my call from last night. Evelyn, I just got your message. What happened? Are you okay? The concern in her voice broke through my numbness, and I found myself telling her everything. The birthday preparations, the no-show family, the Instagram discovery, the text about leftovers, and finally the confrontation with my parents this morning. I always knew your family took you for granted, Amanda said when I finished. But this is beyond anything I could have imagined. I'm so sorry, Ev. Am I overreacting? I asked, still conditioned to doubt my own feelings. They seem to think I'm being dramatic. Absolutely not, Amanda replied firmly. What they did was incredibly hurtful and disrespectful. Anyone would be devastated. Her validation was like a key unlocking something within me. "This isn't the first time, I said slowly. "It's just the most obvious time." "What do you mean?" "They've always done this, just in smaller ways. Forgetting my events, but never missing Catherine's or Dominic's. Cutting my birthday celebration short for someone else's needs. Dismissing my achievements while celebrating theirs." As I spoke, memories surfaced that I had pushed away for years. My high school graduation, where my parents had been distracted by Catherine's college orientation the next day. My college art show, which they had attended, but spent discussing Dominic's basketball scholarship. My first teaching award, which had received a perfunctory, "That's nice, dear," while they planned an elaborate party for my father's business anniversary. "I think I need to look at some things," I told Amanda suddenly. "Can I call you back later?" After hanging up, I went to my closet and pulled down a storage box labeled Memories. Inside were journals, photo albums, and keepsakes dating back to my childhood. With a new perspective, I began going through them chronologically. My 10th birthday journal entry described excitement about a promised trip to the zoo that was canceled when Catherine's debate team unexpectedly made it to state finals. My high school yearbook contained a photo of me receiving a creative writing award with no family members in attendance because it conflicted with Dominic's basketball banquet. College photos showed me celebrating graduation, with friends my family having left immediately after the ceremony to help Catherine move into her law school apartment. The pattern was undeniable and heartbreaking. Year after year, event after event, I had been sidelined in favor of my siblings. And I had accepted. It made excuses for it, internalized the message that my moments didn't matter as much. With trembling hands, I opened my laptop and began writing an email to my family. Not a reactive, angry message, but a thoughtful explanation of how their actions had affected me over the years, culminating in the birthday incident. I wrote about my feelings of invisibility and inadequacy. I explained that I needed time and space to process these realizations and heal from decades of accumulated hurt. "I love you all," I concluded, "but I need to love myself enough to set boundaries. I'll be taking some time away from family gatherings and regular calls while I work through these feelings with a therapist. I hope eventually we can build a healthier relationship, one where all family members are valued equally." After sending the email, I felt both terrified and liberated. For the first time, I had articulated my needs and set clear boundaries. Whatever happened next, I had taken the first step toward reclaiming my self-worth. The following Monday, I returned to my classroom, finding solace in the structure and purpose of teaching. My colleagues noticed my subdued mood, and when Julia, the second-grade teacher I was closest to, asked what was wrong, I found myself sharing the story. "That's awful," Julia said, giving me a fierce hug. "Family should never make you feel that way." Word spread quickly through the staff, and throughout the day, teachers stopped by my classroom with small gestures of support. A coffee left on my desk, a handwritten note of encouragement, offers of help with lesson planning, while I processed my emotions. During lunch period, I was summoned to the music room, where I found my entire fourth-grade class waiting with my fellow teachers. They had hastily arranged cupcakes with candles, handmade cards, and a banner that read, "Happy birthday, Ms. Anderson." "We heard you had a sad birthday," explained Zoe, one of my students, handing me a card covered in glitter. "So we wanted to give you a do-over." Tears filled my eyes as the group sang happy birthday and presented me with a gift box containing a beautiful plant for my classroom. "We know you love growing things," said another student, Marcus. "And this one's super hard to kill, which is good because remember when the class goldfish died? The laughter that bubbled up from within me was healing, a reminder that family could be found in unexpected places." As I looked around at the smiling faces of my students and the supportive expressions of my colleagues, I realized I was valued here, in a way my biological family had never managed to show. That evening, I made a decision that felt both terrifying and necessary. I took a photo of myself sitting alone at my beautifully set birthday table, the carefully prepared food untouched, the chair decorated with balloons. In the image, my expression was calm and dignified, despite the obvious absence of guests. I posted it on social media with a simple caption. On my 32nd birthday, I learned that sometimes the people who are supposed to show up for you don't. And sometimes that's the gift learning who truly values you and who doesn't. Here's to new beginnings and chosen family. Self-worth had boundaries, had new chapter. Before I could second guess myself, I hit post and set my phone aside, not yet ready to see the responses. Whatever happened next, I had taken the first step toward honoring my own story and reclaiming my sense of self-worth. I never expected the post to go viral. By the following morning, it had thousands of likes and hundreds of comments, most from strangers, sharing their own stories of family disappointment and the journey towards self-respect. People I had never met were expressing more care and understanding than my own family had shown. "You deserve to be celebrated," wrote one commenter. "Thank you for putting into words what I've felt for years but couldn't express," wrote another. "This is the beginning of your real life on your own terms," said a third. The flood of supportive messages was overwhelming and healing in equal measure. For the first time, I realized how universal my experience was. So many people had faced similar family dynamics and had found the strength to establish boundaries and build lives centered on their own well-being, rather than endless unappreciated sacrifice. The viral post also brought an immediate reaction from my family. My mother called her voice tight with controlled anger. "Take that post down immediately, she demanded, without even a greeting. "You're embarrassing the entire family publicly. What will our friends think?" I didn't name anyone or share private details, I replied calmly. I simply shared my experience. "It's obvious who you're talking about. People are asking questions. Catherine is mortified. Your father is furious." "I'm sorry they're uncomfortable," I said, surprising myself with my steady voice. "But I won't hide my truth anymore to protect people who weren't concerned about hurting me." "This is so selfish, Evelyn, so attention-seeking. I raised you better than this." The criticism that would have crushed me days earlier now barely touched me. "No, Mom. Selfish was canceling plans with me without even a phone call. Selfish was celebrating Catherine on my birthday when you had promised to be here. I'm not seeking attention. I'm finally acknowledging my own worth." She hung up without another word, and I expected to feel devastated. Instead, I felt oddly peaceful. The conversation confirmed I was making the right choice in creating distance. In the weeks that followed, I began therapy with a counselor specializing in family dynamics and setting healthy boundaries. Dr. Sarah Wilson helped me understand that my role as the family mediator and emotional caretaker had been established early and reinforced throughout my life. "You were parentified as a child," she explained during one session. "Given adult emotional responsibilities while your own needs went unmet. That creates a pattern of always putting others first that can follow you into adulthood." Through our weekly sessions, I began to recognize how this pattern had affected not just my family relationships, but my friendships, romantic relationships, and even my teaching career. I was always the giver, the supporter, the one who accommodated everyone else while minimizing my own needs. As the holiday season approached, my family began pressuring me to get over my feelings and join them for Thanksgiving. My father called his approach more tactical than my mother's emotional manipulation. "Your mother has already ordered the turkey. Everyone's expecting you," he said, as though logistics could override my emotional needs. "It's time to move past this birthday business." "I'm not ready," I replied simply. "I told you in my email that I needed time." "It's been nearly 2 months, Evelyn. How much time do you need?" Catherine's apologized. It was true that Catherine had sent a brief text saying, "Sorry about your birthday," with no acknowledgement of the deeper issues at play. "This isn't about just the birthday, Dad. It's about a lifetime of feeling undervalued. I'm working through that in therapy, and I'm not ready for a family gathering where those dynamics will be reinforced." His disappointment was palpable, but for once I didn't cave to alleviate someone else's discomfort at the expense of my own well-being. Instead of traditional family Thanksgiving, I accepted an invitation to Friendsgiving, hosted by Julia from work. The gathering included several teachers, their partners, and a few people I had never met before. We ate on mismatched dishes, played board games that devolved into laughter, and shared stories with an ease I had never experienced at family holidays. Looking around the table at these people who had chosen to include me, who valued my presence without conditions or comparisons, I felt a profound shift in my understanding of family. Biology had given me one family, but I was free to create another based on mutual respect and genuine care. December brought another unexpected development. My youngest brother Dominic called out of the blue. "Hey, Evie," he said, his voice uncertain. "Got time to talk?" I braced myself for another guilt trip, but was surprised when he continued. "I've been thinking a lot about your email and that post, and I think I get it now. I never realized how differently we were treated growing up." His words opened a floodgate. We talked for hours, him sharing his perspective, as the family's golden boy, me explaining how it felt to be constantly overlooked. By the conversation's end, we had reached a new understanding. Dominic wasn't responsible for our parents' favoritism, and recognizing it now was a first step toward a more balanced sibling relationship. "I'm really sorry about your birthday," he said before hanging up. "That was messed up, and I should have spoken up." His apology, simple but sincere, was the first genuine acknowledgement from any family member that what had happened was wrong. It didn't erase the hurt, but it offered a glimmer of hope that at least one relationship might be salvageable. The Christmas season brought more pressure from my mother, but I held firm to my boundaries, opting to volunteer at a local shelter on Christmas Day, rather than subjecting myself to family tension. To my surprise, Dominic joined me there, choosing to support my boundary setting, rather than enable our parents' minimizing of my feelings. In January, nearly 4 months after the birthday incident, my father requested a meeting when he was in Portland for a business conference. We met at a neutral coffee shop where he surprised me by coming alone without my mother to dominate the conversation. "I've been doing some thinking," he said after we exchanged awkward greetings, "and some reading actually, about family dynamics and—" He cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Favoritism." I waited, hardly daring to hope for real understanding. "I didn't see it," he continued. "Or maybe I didn't want to see it. But looking back, I can understand why you felt overlooked." He met my eyes briefly before looking down at his coffee. "I'm sorry, Evelyn. I should have been a better father to you." It wasn't a perfect apology. It didn't address all the years of subtle message that I mattered less. But it was a start, an acknowledgement that my perspective had validity. We talked for 2 hours, really talked, perhaps for the first time in my adult life. He asked about my teaching my friends in Portland, my interests, questions that showed curiosity about me as a person rather than perfunctory parental check-ins. My mother proved less capable of change. She maintained that I was overreacting, that I was holding on to negativity by enforcing boundaries. During our infrequent phone calls, she would make pointed comments about forgiveness and family loyalty, clearly viewing my boundary setting as a personal attack rather than a necessary step for my emotional health. By the time my 33rd birthday approached, I had created a new life with a healthier balance of giving and receiving care. My circle of friends had expanded beyond work colleagues to include people from a book club, a hiking group, and a pottery class I had finally made time for, now that I wasn't constantly accommodating my family's demands. When Amanda suggested a weekend trip to the coast to celebrate my upcoming birthday, I felt none of the anxiety that had previously accompanied birthday planning. I knew these people would show up not because of obligation, but because they genuinely enjoyed my company. The night before my birthday, I received an unexpected email from Catherine. Unlike her previous brief text, this message showed real reflection. "I've been thinking about how I would feel if our entire family had chosen to celebrate someone else on my birthday after promising to be there for me. I'd be devastated. I didn't see it that way last year because I've always been on the receiving end of family attention. I'm not asking for forgiveness or trying to make this right with one email. I just wanted you to know that I understand better now, and I'm sorry for my role in hurting you." Reading her words, I felt a complex mixture of emotions, validation, lingering hurt, and cautious hope. Real healing would take time and consistent changed behavior, not just words. But it was a beginning, an opening for possible reconciliation on healthier terms. On the morning of my 33rd birthday, As I prepared to leave for the coast with friends who had proven their reliability and care, I found myself reflecting on the painful gift my 32nd birthday had given me. Through that experience, I had finally recognized patterns that had shaped my entire life, had found the courage to set boundaries, and had discovered my own worth, separate from family validation. The journey hadn't been easy. There had been days of overwhelming grief for the family relationships I had idealized, but never actually had. There had been moments of doubt and loneliness, but there had also been profound growth and the discovery of authentic connections based on mutual care rather than obligation. As I packed my bag for the weekend celebration, I realized that the girl who had desperately sought her family's approval no longer existed. In her place stood a woman who understood her own value, who could give love generously without depleting herself, and who recognized that family is ultimately defined not by blood, but by consistent presence and genuine care. The most important lesson of all had been learning that no external validation or chosen family could replace the fundamental work of valuing myself. My worth had never been determined by my family's ability to see it. It had been within me all along, waiting for me to claim it. Have you ever had to create boundaries with family members who consistently disappointed you? How did you find the strength to prioritize your own well-being? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more journeys of self-discovery and healing. Remember that sometimes the most painful experiences become our greatest teachers. Thank you for being part of my chosen family here, and may you always know your true worth is never determined by others' ability to see it.